It's quite unnerving for me to have two stalwarts who have suddenly taken over the cinema world. And I usually don't do this, but I had to dig in and do a lot of research and even like write everything on a notebook. I thought the chairs would be like yesterday, more comfortable. This chair makes it even more intimidating for me to face both of them. So I'd like to start on a lighter note. So you heard towards the end the introduction for the stand-up comedian. You know who the stand-up comedian is. So let's start on a lighter note. The topic is a little heavy. It's going to get interesting, because the whole genre now that's opened up as far as the art of storytelling is concerned. From here on, I'm going to say the art of storytelling, because that's what I heard DK say over and over again. He refers to filmmaking as an art. So I'm going to stay with art, not to piss him off. So the first question to you, Suman. How many kinds of dosa eaters are there?
Oh, shit. Okay. Okay, there are two kinds of dosa eaters. It's dosa, guys, not dosa, as people in Mumbai say it. So, people who order masala dosa and eat the masala dosa. The second type is people who order masala dosa and leave the masala out and eat the dosa. Yes, yeah. I am the third type. I order a plain dosa and look for leftover masala.
So Tanushree and Suman, you should eat dosa together. So the topic for tonight's discussion is mastering the evolving landscape of web stories. And I am as clueless as some of you are. So I will leave the floor open at all times. Whenever you have a more intelligent question than me, just raise your hand and say, "You idiot, I have a better question." And please use the word "you idiot." And then you can directly ask the panel. So let's talk about this whole trend, DK. You were making movies. You made a host of interesting movies starting, I think, 2000. And the best part is we have an engineer sitting here who knew nothing about making movies. He's an engineer by training, not a filmmaker by training. But somehow ended up giving us some fantastic cinema and web series. Now, everywhere you go, you say that it's an art. So the starting comment I want to hear from you is that this in-depth that a web series gives you, a platform, I won't call it a bottomless pit, then it would be very boring. But this format change, what did it do for you?
Anyway, thank you for that absolutely awesome intro. And I'm not sure I agree with this title of mastering the format. I don't think, the moment you think you are a master, it makes it look like there is no more room for evolution. So I think you just get better and better. With more and more films you do, more and more shows you do, you get better and better. Now, coming to the topic of making a web series compared to, say, making a film that we were making before, there was a learning curve. For all of us, there was a learning curve as, okay, you have a film, it's a 2-hour film, you've taken so many years to not master, but come close to being good at it, in nailing the structure of, the first act, second act, the midpoint, the final act, and you nail that to some extent, and you start making good films, and suddenly there is a new beast thrown at you, which is this long format storytelling, which is a series, and now you have to reinvent the idea, the concept of storytelling, how to tell a story all over again. But the first freedom that it offered to us between Raj and myself and Suman, when we were sitting and thinking, let's do Family Man, and the first freedom it offered to us was we could cast anybody from anywhere in the country. So we had this show that had Hindi-speaking, protagonist and Manoj Bajpayee, and then it had a Tamil wife, and we had the antagonist coming from Kerala who gets stranded somewhere, and the story travels to Kashmir, and we even wrote a friend for Shrikant Tiwari, who was a Bengali character, but we ended up casting Sharif Hashmi, so we turned him to a Marathi-speaking character. But the idea was to showcase all aspects of, like, the whole country of India, not necessarily just look at the way a Bollywood film is structured or look at a Hindi-speaking cast. That was the first thought. So it allowed us to just go wide and cast everybody from every industry that we wanted to, and let them speak their own language, speak with their own mistakes, their own flaws, just stay authentic to the character, make the character authentic to the actor. That was the first thing that allowed us to do. And after that, of course, the big challenge in long format storytelling is you need to know the subject in and out. You can't just fool your way into making people believe that you know what you're talking about for that long. You could pull off a film with minimal info and maybe a gripping plot and a few songs and some good action sequences, but a series it does require in-depth knowledge of the plot, of the canvas, of the subject, and an in-depth insight into the characters that we are writing and creating. So these are the big challenges we had to face, besides structuring it.
Right. And so, if I am to compare web series and take a leaf out of it and say, it's like the food processing industry, right? So there are different stages to the food processing industry, and you stand at the beginning or the bottom or whatever call it. You are the farmer. You are planting the seed. The plant is going to grow, and it depends on how healthy that plant is to see the final product.
That's a long metaphor, but no, I liken writing to, it's the, to simplify it, it's the bedrock, the foundation of films or web series. That's what you're asking me, right?
Yes.
One thing about writing for film is that it's not, I'm just writing a book, being a journalist, or even writing leave letters. They all involve writing, but I will stick to just screenwriting. Screenwriting is essentially, it's often looked upon as a literary pursuit. It's not. Because screenplay is like an invitation that, like somebody said, is an invitation that you extend to other artists to come and perform. So therein lies the rub, in the sense that you cannot, it's like walking on eggshells. You cannot step on other artists' foot. I cannot write, and then a teardrop roll down his face, and Manoj Bajpayee will tell me, don't tell me how to emote. That's the challenge. That's which I learned along the way. Where do I stand? It's exciting to create worlds, to create a spy world, and then go and tell the story of an artist who eventually turns into a counterfeiter, who thinks that the money he makes better than actual money. Farzi, I'm talking about Farzi. And then go do this really fun, pulpy, largely cinematic Guns and Gulab. So the storyteller in me could not have been happier. So where I'm I'm very happy. So
how different is it vis-a-vis writing for a movie,
okay,
and writing a web series? Let's start with The Family Man. Season 1, binged watched it, enjoyed it a lot, and I kept thinking, what are the thoughts? How much of research went into, showing the authenticity, especially as a journalist. I know how those guys work. Met a few of them. So, what is the thought process there?
The difference between, if I may say so, the difference between a feature film and a series is that most often than not, a feature film is the journey of the protagonist. You have that one lens, most often. It need not be 100% true all the time. So, most often it's the story of the protagonist. Whereas here in the long form, it allows you to, it gives you the elbow room to flex, to explore subplots, explore character journeys that otherwise you will not do in a 2-hour film. That is the fundamental difference I see between a feature film and a web series, and the long form essentially. And in terms of you said, like DK said, you cannot get away with in the long form. Your research has to be on point, like you said. So for someone like me and even Raj and DK, we love that part. Whether it is geopolitics or like there are many conflicted regions across the world. I'm a big fan of that. I studied the Irish Troubles, and of course I've been following the conflict in the Middle East, Palestine. Not because I enjoy the conflict, but to understand why we do it. So that kind of helps. And my maternal grandfather happens to be a historian. He wrote history books. So I think there is, like you said last evening, and maybe it's in the genes. So I'm a history buff as well. So I think writing is more to do with reading. The more you read, and especially you need to read a lot of bad books because it will teach you how not to write. So yeah, it's a tough job, but when you enjoy it, I mean, to use the cliche, it's not work, it's fun when you are passionate about it and you love it. So.
And DK, the art of making this, you know, after his vision flows in, he's written, everything comes in. Now it is up to you guys to transform it. And the whole challenge is, how do you start well in a web series? Because you got to grab our attention, you know. And then perhaps towards the end, if you are thinking about a, you know, series 2, how do you end well? So that beginning, end, and to be able to sustain your audience throughout, I mean, is a challenge.
Yeah, no, the process starts at the writing. So we write together, all of us write. And so when we're writing, majority of the time of making a show goes in the writing process. If I'm not mistaken, we wrote Family Man, season 1 for 2 years? 1.5 years?
1.5 years, yeah.
Yeah, at least 1.5 years we sat and wrote versions after version of it. And I mean, it's not about where the show begins and where the show ends, right? It's about where the episode begins, where the episode goes, where the episode ends, and where the next episode begins, next episode ends. So each episode in itself has to be a gripping journey, and you have to leave the viewer wanting more at the end of the episode. So this is the trick that the platforms have. That's where they give you a 5-second window to say, no, I need to go to sleep, or the next episode will start. And of course, the platforms do it like that. But it's up to the filmmaker, up to the creators, the writers to keep the story at a place where you don't want to stop it from going to the next episode. It's a bad habit, I'm telling you. Binge watching is a very bad habit. I will advise all of you to watch 1 or 2 episodes a night and then savor it.
It's a good bad habit.
Savor it over time. Please don't watch an entire series in one night. It takes us 2 years to make it, and you can't watch it all in one night. I mean,
I do that all the time.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I'm saying it's a bad habit. Please don't promote it. I'm like, please take your time. Please watch it 1 episode or 2 episodes a night and spend at least a week watching it. Then I'll feel good that, okay, I spent 2 years making it and you spend at least a week watching it. And so the part about keeping the viewer engaged, keeping the story tight, comes in the writing. So by the time the screenplays are ready, we pretty much know exactly what's happening. Then the execution part of it is, for us, as directors, Raj and I, we've always wanted to experiment in how we shoot things and how we show certain things. And, and we've also been evolving. Each show we make, from season 1 to season 2 to Farzi to Guns and Gloves, we've also evolved as filmmakers, as directors. For example, when the time came for us to shoot an action sequence in season 1 of Family Man, we were brainstorming on how to make this sequence, how to shoot this action sequence that's going to stand out from all the other action sequences you've seen. It's very easy. I mean, these guys are going in a van and they see cops stop, blockaders everywhere, and then they try to get away, and eventually one of them gets shot. We've seen this kind of, it's not that we've seen it, it's a fairly straightforward thing. That's when we came up with this idea that let's make it very, very personal, and let's shoot it as a single shot sequence. So when you shoot something as a single shot sequence, what it does to the viewer is it puts the viewer in the shoes of the character that the camera is focusing on. So in an action sequence, if the camera is on, say, me, I'm a character, wherever I go, the audience is following me, and what I don't know, the audience also doesn't know. But in a typical action sequence, when you start editing and showing stuff, like, you know what's going to happen. Like you see me driving on a motorcycle, and you have a cut of a lorry coming, and you already know, oh, okay, this motorcycle is going to go hit the lorry. But the rider of the cycle doesn't know that. So that's what a single shot sequence does. So we came up with ways, and the single shot sequence for Family Man became a very big deal, actually. Everybody started talking about it. But the idea came from a very simple thing of how do you make it interesting, how do you make it gripping? And we did that, and we did one more, and then we released the show, and suddenly everybody was talking about it. So we felt, okay, now this is the motive of the Family Man. Keep it real, keep it flowing, keep it gritty, and where it's imperative, where it's necessary, do these single shot sequences. So that's the director's hat coming in. But a majority of the work is done on the writing stage.
Okay, but if I love the web series, I'm still going to binge watch it.
As a
Get some
consumer,
sleep.
you're well within your rights.
Yeah, I think I'm going to
Get some sleep, get some sleep in between. Walk, exercise, walk around, exercise.
So DK, you guys took 1.5 years to come up with the script for Family Man.
Season 1, it
So
took that long.
season 1, which means you guys had lots of money.
Lots of money?
Yeah.
No, what does it cost? Nothing. 3 people sitting in a room and
Three people
writing.
sitting in a room writing.
3 people
You gotta
sitting
eat.
in a...
I just wanted to give out an advice from you guys to the young filmmakers who are struggling. They don't have too much money, saved up like you guys.
What makes you think we had money?
Yeah.
No, you already had made so
Do you
many
know,
movies.
we
by-
wrote season 1 in a allegedly 2 BHK. In Mumbai, a 2 BHK is basically you open the door.
No, it's not a 2 BHK, it was a 1 BHK.
1 BHK, sorry, yes.
Yeah, see,
1 BHK.
she's going there.
Yes.
Or was it a studio converted to a 1 BHK? Yeah,
Studio
okay.
converted to 1 BHK, now and then you open the door, you're already in the bathroom. That's the setup we had.
I lived in one
That's
of those.
where we wrote Family Man season 1, and I think even season 2, at least most development happened there.
Yeah, and then once the show came out and we got a little bit of money, we upgraded to a better office.
So where did all the money that you guys that you earned in the US go?
In making the first few films.
Okay, so
You know how
flavors?
long ago I came from the US to India? Like once we made money in the US and came to India, it took 5 years to make the film in India. And 5 years surviving in Mumbai, just your expenses,
Yeah.
that's enough. It wipes out your bank balance. And to top that, we made our first film, we made our second film, we made our third film. All of these films, we are thinking, you know what, we are lucky that we are making these films and somebody is funding these, and I'm happy to be doing it. I'm not negotiating money, saying you better pay me this much money or I won't do it. I'm like, pay me whatever you want. I'm just happy you're making this movie, let's do it. That's how the first few films happened. So I think it takes a while before money becomes a thing. That's what I would advise if there's all these budding filmmakers here, is like, forget about making money on your first or second or third or fourth films. I think you should be looking at building a voice, building a career, building a future, and eventually money will start coming, but it's going to be a few years.
You should have just sent Suman out in the evenings to the other station or to the stand-up comedy.
Yeah. That's why he was doing stand-up comedy, to make some money on the side.
Afford it. The other theme that I've been looking at is that every one of your films are different. I watched Guns and Gulab. I love the rawness of it all. And then I was just researching and I happened to watch a little bit of Go Goa Gone. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
And then in one of your interviews, you guys have said that, you are in a relentless pursuit of keeping it fresh.
Yes.
I mean, isn't it crazy? Is there a
It is.
chance of you guys burning out, looking for that freshness all the time?
No, I mean, it is crazy. It is crazy, if I may say so myself. But somehow that's how we have done, right? The problem with taking so long to make a film, like I said, it took us 5 years to make the first film. And every film took us 2 years to make back then. And when it takes so long, you have time on your hands. So that's the time you spend thinking and writing and figuring out what your next story is. So before we even made 99, our first film, we had the script of Short in the City ready. So we knew that was next. And while Short in the City was being made and we were waiting eventually for it to get released as 2 years were passing, there was always this thing, what are we doing next? What are we doing? And there's enough time on your hands to think of the next big thing. And we thought, let's do the craziest thing we've ever done. A crazy thing that nobody's ever done before. And we thought, let's make a zombie comedy. And that's what we did. And when we went and pitched to studios at that time, saying, it was like, oh, Short in the City, I loved it. Oh my God, what an amazing film. Great, great. What next? What do you have? That's how the meeting starts. End of the meeting, we are walking out and people are secretly saying, these guys have lost it. They've gone crazy, they've lost it. It's zombie comedy in India. So that's how crazy it was. Thanks to Saif Ali Khan that he took the bait and he bit into it and said, this is crazy. And I don't know the audience here, but I think it's okay to say the C word, the Hindi C word.
No, DK, no.
Chew.
No.
Chew word that rhymes with Cutiapa. Yeah. So he said,
I think they understand.
He said, that's what this is, and I have to do this. So there are other crazy people.
So Saif Ali Khan actually said that?
He literally said the word. We took the script. He said first, narrate it to me. And we said, we're not good narrators, and I don't know how to narrate, but we have a script. Here, read the script. And he's like, I'm not going to read it. It's going to take me a few months to read it. Come. And then he started reading the script right in front of us. He started reading page after page after page, and he was laughing and this, and it was a very quick read, right? He finished it, in an hour he finished the script, and he was rolling on the floor laughing and saying, oh my God, this is the C word, and I have to do it. And he was standing there, cocking an imaginary shotgun, standing there, saying, this is what we are doing next. So there are other crazy people who want to do stuff like this. Yeah.
And you are the crazy one, no? With them. How crazy does it get? And how crazy are you to keep coming up, thinking about all this?
The better part of a writer's life is spent looking for stories. And I'm always looking for stories. And I don't know how it happens, honestly. It's like sometimes you go on a recce, you go to this house, and you speak to the owner of the house, bam, you'll get an idea. Which might happen the next 2 years, 3 years, what have you. But the point is, there is this muzzle. It's like the bird watchers. They can spot birds that you can never spot, because it's the muzzle that's working. It's the muzzle or bone, whatever. The thing is,
instinct.
Yeah, you have that. A storyteller. People think that writing is all about. I could be wrong here, but this is my take on it. I think the toughest part is, what are you going to write about? For you to crack that, you have to have your antennae up all the time. And you spoke about crazy people. I firmly believe in what Jack Kerouac said. The only people are the mad ones. So.
And how crazy can you get? Because I was watching one of your stand-up routines, and you are making fun of your wife, who's a doctor.
You asked me where I had the money. No, it's a doctor wife.
You get a chance.
And she's a kind soul that. After he going on stage and making fun of her, she was still sticking around with him. So.
But how? Doctors here and BCom is there. How did you manage?
You got to blame his looks for it, man.
BCom is here, guys.
Yeah.
Doctor. Yeah.
And that also, when he explains.
That's because I think women like projects. They don't want men. If they see you a flawed man, not you, generally saying, if she spots a project, she'll pick you up, she'll fix you. That's it, done.
Yeah, I think he's fixed now. Fantastic.
I cannot make fun of my mother-in-law. That's the only rule at home, which I plan to do in my next routine anyway. So.
I'm straying off topic now. I shouldn't. I try to stick on topic as much as possible. How has this new format of web series allowed for more creative freedom for you as filmmakers?
Yeah, like I said, you get to say the kind of stories that you never got to say in a feature film format. That's number one. Nice coffee. And but more importantly, like I said, it took away certain shackles that come with feature films. Okay, because there's a certain format for a feature film. At least in Indian films, let me put it in a very blunt way, right? You have songs. you'll have to probably have a star for the film to open. And I mean, there's anyway restriction of time. Usually it's 2.5 hours is all you have to tell a story. And there are all these restrictions. Yes, we are used to it, and that's what good cinema is about. And you get to tell a great story in a nice way in 2 hours. So there is a lot of art in that. But imagine some of those things which you considered as shackles are removed when you're making a feature film. When you're making a series, saying you just need good actors, you don't need a star. First thing. What we did immediately was, let's go to Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Andhra Pradesh and Kashmir and get all the actors from there, right? So it suddenly opened up the entire country for us. That was the first creative freedom. But more importantly, it allowed us to get in depth into a character, into a story, like Shrikant Tiwari, the family man, or the antagonist. Like, we've spent weeks and months and, couple of years nailing the story and the character and all this, right? So that to get it right. And we always knew there was going to be a season 2, there's going to be a season 3 potentially. So this is a character that needs to keep giving. So that's part of the creative freedom. So it's allows us to do this. And I mean, just to quote an anecdote, right? I mean, Shahid has been a film star, he's worked in films, and recently he did his first series, Farzi. And the first thing he said, having done so many films, having been in the industry for 15, 18 years, he felt like he was doing his first film when he was doing the series, because he was very aware of the fact that this is a new challenge. I need to know my character in and out over this entire span. And he did, by the way. He did know exactly what scene was coming, where, how. I mean, more than us as the writers and directors, as much as we knew about the story, Shahid knew about the story, because he knew, he was scared that he would somewhere get lost in the story and miss a character beat. So it's an actor's dream to be in a series, I would say. Beyond being a star, you need to be a good actor to hold an audience and be a character for that long, that consistently.
But watching Farzi, how lavishly the series has been made, I know you must have got this question a lot. I mean, it could have made for a great big screen film.
Yes.
No, then why, I don't know, should I use the word or not, why waste it on a web series?
I wouldn't call it wasted. The web series has its own reach and merits. For example, Farzi is watched in over 200 countries right now, right? And people are still watching it, and it's been on the top in India as a top 10 web series of Amazon. It's still in the top 10 web series of Amazon after almost a year of being released. So I think that's definitely an achievement. I mean, there are certain stories that are meant for the big screen, and there are certain stories that are meant for a series. I don't use the word small screen per se, or television, because this is a series has the same production values and the same art that goes into making a feature film. It's just, if you don't watch a feature film when it releases in a theater, you end up watching it on a TV. That doesn't make it any smaller, because you're still enjoying the spectacle that it is, right? So in that sense, this felt like a story that needed more time. In fact, we did conceive of Farzi as a feature film a few years ago, and we would have made it as a feature film back then if it had happened. But we were always conscious, even when we had a feature film script, we were painfully or happily aware of one thing, that we were struggling to fit it in a 2-hour, 2.5-hour format. Our feature film script was coming to 3 hours, and everybody was like, guys, 3 hours is too long for a film. Can you somehow cut it and make it in 2 hours? And that was a problem we were facing back then, saying we had so much content. So we were taking out arcs and taking out scenes and episodes, anecdotes from the story to make it fit. And somewhere there, I think it's the universe telling us that you don't have to cut anything. In fact, add more to it. Now make it a 6-hour story and tell it as a series, right? And I think we successfully told a story that did not dip or felt like, why do you have all this flab that you didn't need to have? And it still lasted 8 episodes, and it was still a continuous gripping watch. So I think that goes to show that some stories lend themselves very well for the long format.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, guys.
Yeah. थोड़ा और loud हो तो हमको भी जोश आएगा. They bought black coffee for us. Which is like a signal that the talk is maybe going boring and they are trying to wake us up. It's not like that, no?
Not when you're around, Karma. Don't worry.
So you are a writer who loves to observe the surroundings around you all the time. You know, you are looking
He
out.
specifically
all the
likes
time.
bird watching.
Yeah. So, while writing, are you always conscious about what the audience is going to think of this particular scene? Are you always conscious and trying to think of the audience, or do you first completely write it from what you feel is going to work?
See, this whole thing of being audience-centric, etc. I don't believe in that. I mean, I know it sounds bad to say that, but the point is, every storyteller, every creator, when they are pregnant with a story, right, they have to be happy about what comes out, what should be presented to the world at large. If you're going to tweak based on, audiences are veering towards this direction, so I'm going to tweak my story because of that, I think it's a lost cause. I think at least I'll speak for myself, I think that, when I write, there is a story that's brewing in my, which excites me, which keeps me awake at night. So I want to get it out now and hope that audience like it. And I think it comes from a reading, life experience. You're married, you know what I'm talking about. So all of that kind of plays into it. Your entire life, your existence is to contribute to that piece of entertainment that you're offering to the audience. So you have to be in love with it and hope that audience like it. And that's where, and I think it's important to be honest in storytelling, whether you're writing a book, fiction, or whether you're making a film or a series. It's the one important quality that I have learned from my gurus, like Stephen King or William Goldman, is that, the honesty in storytelling. You have to be honest. You cannot have a sailor as a character and have him speak like an English gentleman. There are no English gentlemen, I'm just saying. That's a joke, guys, my God. Yeah, so I think I don't believe in this audience.
This needs to be in a bar.
No, to long story short, I don't believe that, am I worried? Yeah, of course I'm worried that, I hope that, audience like and enjoy what, I have helped create along with these guys, especially on screen, so.
But
I think we're all lucky that what we like also seems to be what the audience seems to like, so we are lucky. So we're not compromising and saying, let me make something that I don't like for the audience to like, because looks like our tastes are matching. Good for us, right?
And again, if you have a question, stop me. Just stop me. Call me an idiot. Suman, do you have a process? I don't think you're too disciplined about how.
I look like that, but yeah. But we do have a process. It's a homegrown process from Raj DK realm of filmmaking, school of filmmaking. But we have a process and we believe in it. Usually what happens is, I've seen many aspiring writers, the first thing they do is they buy final draft. That's not how it works, right? So we have this elaborate process of, if you come to our office in Mumbai, you will see that, the walls are filled with post-it notes, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 for each episode. And, we have a very structured way of approaching a story, whether it's a feature or a long form. We have a structured way of writing it. And in that comes the madness as well. Sometimes suddenly this, for example, Atmaram's character in Guns and Gulabs, we were talking, suddenly that something just fell in place and moment of epiphany, and boom, we had Atmaram, who's personally one of my favorite characters that I have helped create. Yeah.
No, tell the audience, some of them who've not watched Guns and Gulab, Atmaram.
Go watch Guns and Gulabs.
On Netflix. Only on Netflix.
It's worth watching. Coming, from the process, what I wanted to ask you is that when you guys sit down, is there always like agreement, or he has an epiphany, and he's what? I'm not asking you the question. I was asking.
No.
No, yeah, there's never agreement. I mean, if there's
You and I agree on everything. One of us is unnecessary.
Say that again. That's a line from Family Man season 2. If both of us agree on something, one of us is unnecessary.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we don't agree on everything at all. We all in agreement that what we are wanting to do is a great thing. That's all we agree on. We have to make a great show, amazing show that we all agree on. And then now we get to the nuts and bolts of it. So there's so many things we don't agree on. So we all have ideas, we start building it. He says something, I reject it. I say something, he rejects it. And it just goes, but we start building on it, and eventually we come to a place where we are all happy with what we've created.
Does somebody have a veto power?
Of course somebody does. When you're a producer, a director and the writer of the show, of course.
Yeah, sure.
It's okay, DK,
But
say it,
but it's
admit
not
it.
coming from arrogance or ego or anything. It's more like
कुछ तो आया होगा ना?
Yeah,
या तो
yeah.
arrogance होगा. Something must be there.
No.
I'll give you an
no, it's
anecdote.
coming from intention for all of us is always to pick the best idea. But at some point, if we both disagreeing on what the best idea is, somebody has to say, okay, fine, we'll go with what I have, right? That's pretty much what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's right. But I'll tell you a small story that happened. So one of our writing team members for Guns and Gulabs, and she was constantly at one point. And then DK was explaining, but she's not getting it. At one point, he stopped and said, if you really don't agree with me, why don't you watch the show when it comes out? Then you will understand. We talk about veto here. I will side with him because he's usually a sweet guy, but on Tuesdays though.
But you almost make him sound like Don Corleone,
No, I think as a producer director, you will have to put your foot down and say, yeah, correct, you're right. You have a point of view, I have a point of view, but we have to we're always on the clock, so somebody has to make, and that's the thing about being a director and producer, I guess. Decision making. It's all about decision making.
So 2 engineers and 1 classified ad seller. You were selling advertisements.
Yeah, I sell ads for Yellow Pages,
yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Yellow Pages, classified ad seller, sitting down. They were making movies, all right, but suddenly, I think it was pandemic or post-pandemic. Pandemic did something to you that you went on an overdrive. Was it the
series?
vaccine? Yeah. Was it the vaccine?
No, I mean, it wasn't really the pandemic.
Did you get a different kind of a vaccine?
Huh?
Did you get a different vaccine?
No, the pandemic made all of us sit at home, right? And all of us had shitloads of time on our hands and not knowing what to do. So there was a good time for creating, I think.
2 shows.
Yeah, we created 2 shows at least during the
Farzi
pandemic.
and Guns and Gulabs.
Yeah, and 2 big ones, right? And that considering we'd already finished doing Family Man 1 and Family Man 2, we created 2 more shows sitting during the pandemic. And so, yeah, I mean, it gave us a time. But, yeah, I mean, speaking of the number of shows, I think it's kind of one led to other. It's a relentless piece of thing, man. I mean, because you finish season 2, and season 2, season 3. And like season 2, I specifically remember, like it was during the pandemic, the second wave, which was very bad, as we all know. And the show released, so not much publicity, nothing, just we put out a trailer and then we're like, okay, the show is coming out on that day. But people were already waiting for it, so it had all the required anticipation when season 2 came. I remember that Amazon put out a date saying on this date it's going to release at midnight, right? So at 12, and then you think the people are going to catch it the next day. Like Friday, people are going to catch it, so Thursday midnight, 12, it's going to land. But the hardcore viewers already know when Amazon says it's midnight, it actually starts becoming available on the platform at 8 o'clock in the night. How many of you knew this? See? So what happens, and everybody's eagerly waiting, and it's a pandemic time, everybody's sitting at home, I guess, nowhere to go. They're eagerly waiting, and 8 o'clock, the show is available, And I'm thinking, okay, some people know, but people are going to start watching later in the night or tomorrow. At 2 o'clock in the night, which is literally 6 hours after that, I start seeing messages on social media. Finished watching season 2 of Family Man. When is season 3 coming? I'm like, guys, it's literally 2 o'clock in the night. It's supposed to have launched at midnight, and you're already asking me for season 3. And it took us what? It took us 2 waves of a pandemic and 2 years to make the show. And that's why I say, please don't binge watch. Watch 1 or 2 episodes a day, and then pace yourself. Yeah.
So when you're making, I was listening to one of the statements, interviews given by Raj, and he says, you guys are almost Googling how to make a web series.
Yeah, because we were making feature films, and suddenly they said, Amazon came to India and Netflix hadn't come to India. They were just commissioning people from UK or something. Amazon actually had boots on the ground in India, and they were meeting with some filmmakers, including us, and said, let's make a series. And we always had this idea, though, like even for a couple of years before Amazon came, we had this idea because we were watching shows in America. We were thinking we should, at some point in India, we should make a series. So it was, I'm not kidding. We already had the idea of making a series in India, not for television, of course. We had to have the HBOs or somebody like that to come to India. And we had this idea of a Family Man, which we knew we would never make a film. We always wanted to make a series out of it, whenever it happens. When Amazon came, we were like, okay, we have this brilliant idea for a series, which we always thought will be a series. So we said, okay, let's make it into a series. But the thing is, none of us has ever made a series. None of us ever written, directed, in India. So we have to reinvent the wheel. So we started reading up about how to make a series. How many days do you shoot for an episode? Homeland, how many days? Oh, they shot for 10 days for an episode. Okay. So we started learning the very basics of it. And that's how we started building it. And there was at one point, the Amazon team called these good established showrunners from America to come down and kind of talk to us, all the filmmakers here, to guide us a little bit on how to make a series, because none of us have made it. And so they came down here. They were recruited by Amazon to come down. They came, they heard the pitch of Family Man. It was provided to them. Everybody got one filmmaker, and the showrunners we got were really popular guy, like a popular guy from there who would make some really big hit shows there. He read the pitch, he saw the pitch, and then he said, listen guys, I'm telling you this is not working. This is not a family show. This is not an espionage show. It's not an action show. It's not a drama. What are you trying to make here? He's saying, take out the family angle. Maybe just give him a wife. Yeah, sure, give him a kid. Dedicate 1 or 2 scenes in an episode. But this show should be a ticking bomb. So make it like Homeland. Make it like 24, where it's the continuous thrill of the pursuit of stopping the next attack. Do it like that. This family spending so much time, humor with the family is not working. And we were
Also,
shocked.
the thing is, sorry to interrupt you, to add to that point, white people think that husband and wife have 3 fights and they'll divorce. I'm like, hello, I should have been divorced some 10,000 times by now. So they don't get it. Like they were all like Hollywood, whatever. But we kind of stuck to our guns, saying that did bring the question, but we had an internal discussion and said, like, you know what?
Yeah.
Go on,
For
sorry.
better or worse, let's stick to what we know. We think this is working. This whole balancing humor, this having a humorous, lighthearted take on something when it builds up to something really serious only amplifies the seriousness. This somehow, if you notice, Hollywood films don't do that much. If it's an action film, it's an out-and-out action film. If it's a horror, it's an out-and-out horror. They don't mix genres. If there is a funny spy film, like Spy, for example, Melissa McCarthy, is actually a spoofy film. It's not to be taken seriously. A Born Identity would never have humor. So somehow, that's the American way of making films, and that's been working for generations for people, and that's how a lot of people make films. But for us, we somehow felt that we were onto something big. The more the humor is, and if the humor has to be natural, though, we should not treat it like a comedy. We're not making a comedy here. We are naturally building humor in real life that happens in everyday life, and when things really go bad, it really gets serious. So I believe that the audience have the ability to be laughing and 5 minutes later feeling pain and feeling the tension. It doesn't mean that you have to be tense throughout or you have to be laughing throughout. You can't go from one emotion to the next, and that's exactly what Family Man does.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why somebody from the West would never be able to understand that Mangal Sutra, that little scooty, that lady, why she
Exactly.
stops. Why she stops, because she hears Mangal Sutra and says, come on, hop on, you know. So nobody will be able to understand those nuances, which we love. It's like, ye to ho sakta hai. Somebody will say Mangal, that, you know, somebody will stop. We understand that.
Yeah, and as a public, I think we are jugadu people in general. All of us. Like, you could be a really good agent and lie your way and hitchhike on a scooter and go catch a thief instead of running.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, James Bond would, I don't know, jump over a few buildings and go there and catch him by his prowess.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make Shrikant Tiwari a worse agent. It just makes him a more cunning, smarter, street smart guy.
That's a brilliant scene, by the way. Okay, on that note, I'll open it up for questions from the audience. We have a mic. The comedian's mic has been taken away. क्यों और किसी का माइक तुम अटैक नहीं कर सके? इनका ही माइक ले गए?
Yeah, we'll share a mic.
नहीं, I'm joking. Questions, please. Wow.
Come on, guys. Really?
You can't be so spellbound.
If I may actually. Hi, my name is Eden. Earlier you said that you are lucky that the stories that you're writing are the stories that are being accepted by the audience. But how do you know that? Where is that line where you know that what I'm writing is exactly what I want to say, and what I'm writing is not what I'm doing because I want the audience to like it? How do you have that balance?
No, good question. But I didn't say we are lucky that what we are writing the audience is liking. I said we are lucky that what we are liking is also the same thing that the audiences are liking. So the first step here is to write the stories that we like. Like, if you're sitting here and thinking, oh, let's make this movie as this story out of this. If you're sitting and thinking, and we are all getting excited saying, oh, wow, it'll be amazing, let's do it. That's the first step for you to start writing that and making it. And guess what? We are lucky that it's translating to the audience as well. Or we could be thinking, we are making this amazing film, and the audience is thinking, I don't get it, you know.
Hello. Questions to both of you. Like, not question, I would like to know a few things about how the productions actually took place. Like, how many scenes you were shooting and how many days you were shooting, and also how the post-production went. Like, how you carry forward post-production, basically the edit process.
Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, no, I mean, we do shoot pretty fast, Raj and I. When we were shooting pretty fast when we were shooting films, and for a series, I think it's even more important to shoot faster, because the amount of content that you're creating for a series is what, about 3 or 4 times that of a feature film, but you don't get that many days to shoot. If you shoot a feature film in 60 days, you shoot a series in 80 days or 90 days. So you get a little more time than a feature film, but it's not proportional. So you really have to up your speed. And so I would say, on an average, on a feature film, typically an effective filmmaker, I'm not talking about every filmmaker, but an effective filmmaker, if he averages about 2 to 3 pages a day, they're doing good for a feature film. But for a series, I think you should average about 6 to 7 pages a day. Only then you're doing good. But typically, that means action sequences, you cannot shoot much faster. Action sequences, if you're lucky, you shoot 2 minutes in a day. That means for a dramatic scene or for a conversational scene, you probably have to shoot 8 to 10 pages or 8 to 10 minutes in a day, so that you're averaging out to, say, 6 pages. Was that the question? Did I answer that? Yeah. Was it?
Edit process.
The edit process is very long, man. I mean, when it comes, two things in a series are directly proportional to the amount of length, right? One is the writing. The number of pages you write in a series is what, like 400 to 500 pages versus 120 pages in a film. And the other one is the amount of footage. You're making 7 to 8 hours of footage, final finished footage that the audience has to watch and enjoy, as opposed to 2 hours. So the writing process and the post-production process are directly proportional. It takes that much more time. It's like 4 times the amount of work of a feature film in every aspect of post-production: background music, sound, DI, VFX, editing, everything. It's only the shooting process that's a little curtailed, so you shoot faster.
So I'd love to peek into your writer's room. Do you guys have a day dedicated where you're like, okay, I will, all of the writers are going to come up with their ideas? And how do you go about like accepting or rejecting whether to actually move forward and create some sort of proof of concept?
Most often, writing decisions are made through consensus, because, and also you have to leave your ego coat outside, and you'll have to like see what's best for the story. That how do you bring it to the best shape? Which idea does it better? So there's always consensus, and like we discussed earlier, sometimes you have to put your foot down and say no, this is what we're doing. That also happens, but most often it's through consensus that we discuss, debate, and we have an extended team. We have we have interns, we have writing team members who pitch in. It's always a collective process, and one thing about us is that even when you're shooting, if some art AD or third AD comes and says, I think we should do it, we always have our ears to the ground. So we always, that I learned from these guys, watching them make movies. So it's a collective process, so to speak.
But
so.
I also meant like to initiate a project, right? Because all of your projects have been so widely different. They've blended genres. When do you know like, okay, this is too much, or this is maybe too less?
It's through discussions. I mean, I don't understand the question. You said initiate.
Yeah, so when you want to, let's say, create a film or a series, and you guys are thinking about different ideas or where to actually, create a log line, right? So like which log lines work, which ones don't?
Log lines come after you finish writing.
Yeah.
Log line, because it's not easy to come up with a log line and stick to it, right? It's always the seed of the idea is usually, see, most of the stories that we have done, right, they have been with us. Like for example, Family Man and even Farzi, they have been with us for more than 10 years, 12 years. So I think every story takes its own time to come out rather. So and it's a question of opportunity meets story, all that. But the thing is, it's not like today I come up with a story and tomorrow we sit in the writer's room and then a day after, like the next week we have a screenplay. If I get an idea today, you're looking at a good 2 years, right? 2 years, a good 2 to 3 years minimum. So.
Yeah, and also to answer that, I see that what you're saying might be true for a production house or a scenario where they take a lot of ideas and a lot of story pitches from everybody and they start discussing, should we do this or should we do this or should we do that? But in our case, so far we have not done that. All our ideas have been our own ideas that have come over the years, and at some point you would have had an idea and we would have, like this, having a drink, would have discussed it and left it there. Maybe another time we would have spoken about it and left it there. So when the time comes, like suddenly we're saying, hey, remember that idea you were mentioning that day? Why not take it forward and develop it? So it's always like that. It's never about, okay, we have this idea, which one do we pick? It's never been that clear cut. It's almost like we already know what it is we want to do next. What is the next show? We just have the seed of an idea or a concept. We don't know how it's going to pan out. So we are like, okay, this is the idea, we should do it, and we start doing it. Sometimes we drop it midway. Sometimes we work on it, spend a month, spend 2 months, and it's really not going anywhere, or it's not turning out into something special that we wanted. So we drop it and say, okay, forget this idea, let's drop it. Maybe another rainy day will pick up. But what about that other idea you were saying? Let's explore that. So it's always like that.
Makes sense.
So there are many upcoming filmmakers over there. So they would love to know how they can connect with you, how they can associate with you, they can work with you. And if there are any opportunities.
I mean, there you go. I mean, this is one way of connecting. I'm happy to be here and.
hopefully imparting some insight into the process of making a film.
or pitching a film. And you guys also had somebody from Amazon Prime Video here listening to scripts and taking pitches. So that was one way to connect. So in our case, I mean, please just send an email or shoot a note with a basic idea, and somebody will pick it up. And if it's looking interesting, it can go forward. Just don't mail a screenplay, please, because.
Thank you.
No, somewhere you also said because there's so much of demand and this creativity is overflowing, somewhere you've said that you are running out of assistant directors. Where can they apply?
Running out of assistant directors, or
Yeah.
running out of directors?
You said that there's a golden age for filmmakers and there's a problem of plenty and there's great time for creating, and there somewhere you've said
Yeah, no, there is
that
definitely.
you guys are running
I'm-
out of assistant directors.
Yeah, I mean, how many? See, most of the stories we've been doing has been written by between me, Raj, and Suman, or there is a fourth writer, Sita, who's written with us on a few different shows and films. So it's pretty much been the four of us, and how much can we create, right? So I'm always looking for a newer writer to, come on board and start, contributing. But it's. Yeah, no, I'll eventually, maybe there's an email ID, I'll share an email ID. But like I said, I mean, there's always a demand to find a new writer. But see, there are different stages of writers, right? I mean, there are newcomers who are just now starting out and could use with a lot of help, but have brilliant ideas. And then there are seasoned writers. So there's going to be a little bit of I think, a climb.
You can share that email ID to me privately. Anybody wants it, $100 per
Yeah,
email.
if you have any ideas, okay, there you go. If you have any ideas, you can introduce yourself, send a note about who you are, what you've done. That also helps a lot, more than just the story idea. It also helps to know who it is coming from, because it puts in perspective, saying, oh, it's a film student who's not made any film, this is the idea, or seasoned filmmaker who's done lots of shit who's sending an idea. So it helps put things in perspective. And the ID is scripts, 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 at d2rfilms.com. That's our company, D2R, like, what is it? Dehradun to Ranthambore? Films.com.
No problem. I don't mind losing a few bucks today.
I have one question.
One more. What do we look forward to next?
Okay, from us, we have 2 series that are completed now, that are planned to be released next year. One is The Citadel, India, which is a segment in the Citadel universe created by the Russo brothers. It's not an adaptation, it's not a remake, it's an original show. It's just part of that universe with Varun Dhawan and Samantha. That's coming next year. There is another show. Called Gulkanda Tales, which is a very, very quirky, wacky, offbeat, nothing like anybody has ever seen before, offbeat period comedy. Okay, so brace yourself for it. It's a period comedy. That's going to be amazing too. These are 2 things coming next year. And Suman, meanwhile, what you all don't know is secretly has gone and directed a film. And that film is coming early next year, I think, in a couple of months. Why don't you say a few words about it?
So I went and wrote and directed a Tamil film because Tamil is my mother tongue. So I wanted my first directorial to be in Tamil. We start promotions this Monday. But it's a Tamil film. That's why I was like, should I? But then I realized, I also want to watch a lot of your films, which is in the festival, right? I'm going to catch all of them hopefully sometime. So it's called Ragutata. It's about a young woman, a rebellious young woman who's forced to choose between patriarchy and principle, and it's a comedy. So
Wow. So I love Tamil films. One of my favorites is Mandela. And then there was this other man about this old man who loves to eat biryani. And this young chap makes money. I forgot the name of that movie. Mandela, you had something to do with Mandela.
yeah, I curated it.
Wow.
I script doctored it.
It's another fantastic movie. Any more questions?
Yeah, I had one question.
Where?
Yeah, here.
Where?
I'll come. Is there an universe already planned for Shrikant? Like, is the entire story already planned out and then you cut it into different seasons, or?
I wish.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah. I wish. Yeah, but I think we have a basic idea. Like the good thing about Family Man structure is we know each. The stories still stand independently. Like season 1 was a story and season 2 was a story. The characters, their arcs were continuing, but the stories were separate stories. So season 3 is a separate story. So it allows us that breathing room to find new stories, as opposed to imagine the same story continuing, which would have been very difficult, that way. So we know approximately where the next season is going to be set and what the approximate story is going to be, but we absolutely don't know the details of it. Even right now, as we are developing, we still don't know the last episode where it's going.
So again, cliched question, when is it coming? Season 3?
Soon.
And the good thing, I read that it's based on the Northeast, shot in the Northeast.
You're right.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a secret.
We showed it in season 2.
Yes. Sorry, yes. Go for it, yes. I love applause. So. Yes, there.
Where?
There.
Oh,
Where?
can I ask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, sir. My question was related to Nidimoru sir's question only.
Okay,
Means
same
about
question.
season 3.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tridip. My question is that in different Bollywood films we have seen in over the decades and even recent past also, that if a film is made on a particular political subject or in a social stigma or social issue, we have seen a lot of protest, even attacks on the theaters, tearing down posters and all those stuff. Have the OTT platforms given a little more freedom in experimenting such topics, because you are not exposed to those kinds of physical attacks or physical things? So can we say that OTT platforms are giving more freedoms to the writers, makers, with experimenting with political and controversial topics?
Oh, that's the image. I'll before I pass it to Krishna DK, who's probably the best person to answer that. What I want to say is that I think it's an illusion that any platform can give you like whatever freedom you want. There is no absolute. Freedom is not absolute, and as even before when we started season Family Man 1, we were absolutely sure that no, we are not going to. We don't want to take freedom given to you and do whatever you want. Like we could be profane, show whatever. Extreme violence and sex scenes, all that. We did not embrace that because the kind of stories that we want to tell was it's Family Man, it's middle class guy, world class spy, that. So we pretty much stuck to it. But there have been provocative films as well, and they're also censored. Right now there is a provocative film which is like Divided the Room. So it's not like you cannot express yourself, and it's dependent on what platform you choose to. Yeah, sure. An OTT platform, content rather, the long form, more often than not, long form rules OTT. There it allows you freedom in a different sense. It allows you to explore, more of subplots and characters and whatnot. But in terms of, am I allowed to be politically be more expressive, abrasive in OTT? I don't think so. I think we have films for that. That's my opinion, but I'll hand the phone to, mic to.
No, that was it. No, that's while saying I'll let DK answer it, I think he pretty much answered it. So yeah, there is no such thing as absolute freedom, and you really have to be responsible for the choices you make. And controversy can happen sometimes, but I don't think it's a good idea to go courting for controversy on any platform. In any medium, be it a film or be it OTT, because there are OTT shows also that have gotten into trouble, not just films, and so it happens. That's the price to pay, for freedom of expression, I guess.
Hi. So, since the discussion's on web series, right? And earlier, one of you all just mentioned that web series gives this, let's say, leg space for more reflections, explorations, compared to feature films, right? So probably in the feature film, it's just the protagonist, And over here, over a couple of multiple seasons, you're exploring more, exploring the surroundings more around the storytelling. So essentially what my question is, even the other things, like how you all said with Atmaram, you all bring in multiple genres. While it's an action movie, there's a bit of humor, and again, finding the balance in that and everything. And somehow that is, like you said, Hollywood movie, they're going to be intensely either action or intensely drama. They're not mixing, or they're not coming up with fusion of genres, right? Which, like I said, I understand from the production to the very delivery of it, we have a better space in web series compared to feature film, right? So what I was essentially trying to understand is from both sides, right? From this end to the other end of the tunnel, as makers and as viewers, can these extensive and elaborate features, explored in web series, can it be done in a 2 hours, 3 hours movie as well? Because interestingly, people find time for the songs in between and the fillers. Let's not talk about musicals, but let's not talk about recent musicals. So you're essentially understanding what I'm trying to say, can we do that in a feature film, from web series to feature film, or are they just going to be two parallel?
I think there are no hard and fast rules that a feature film means you have to do it only in 2 hours. Right now there is a 3-hour film that's doing the round, so apparently it's making a lot of money too. So there is no, it's just a thumb rule, right? We are going for it's not like it's a heuristic that feature films are better off when you stick to the protagonist's journey. But that said, is it absolute? Is it set in stone? It's not. But if I were to make that choice, I would never do that in a feature, because we know it from experience. We could not fit Farzi, like DK explained earlier. Farzi, when we were trying to fit it into a 2.5 hour film, we just couldn't. We had to chop off so much, and despite that, we were not happy. We never could finish. It was going on for 3.5 hours. So personally, I would not attempt that. But then, if you want to attempt it, by all means, yes.
Yeah, no. It's not just the length also, it's also the amount of the structure of the story you say. The flow is a little different. Right now you will see a biopic on a biopic series, and you probably get to know a lot more about the character than if you watched a biopic film, which used to be the norm. Until 10 years ago, you have seen so many biopics. I'm talking about Hollywood. We've seen so many biopics of so many people, and until now, most of the biopics are relegated to, I would say, series, because it allows you to say more. And a biopic always, to me, felt a little rushed. Be it Ray or Walk the Line or all these movies about these musicians. It almost started from him being on the street in the next scene to getting his first success, to going into a drug problem, to recovering and then finishing, and it felt so rushed, saying, you went through a 30-year life of this great musician in 2 hours. Never felt satisfying to me back then. But that was the only option you had. There were still great movies. But today, if you were to take 6 hours to tell me that story, I think it'll be a lot more compelling.
So my question is about Chellam sir, and I cannot get over that character, and I think I'm among a large crowd of people who cannot get over him. So it's divided in 2 parts. First, how do you decide exactly where will you place him in the entire series? Because not only does he change the entire narrative by giving the crucial information, putting everybody on the right track, but he does it in a manner which everybody remembers always, the audience particularly. And because exactly of that reason, will there ever be a spin-off for him set a little earlier in timeline, during the 50s, 60s maybe?
Only if his name is Benjamin Button. But spin-off, I don't know. That's a decision that we'll have to take. But Chellam sir was a character that, he's supposed to be this, really secretive, reticent, retired RAW agent. Because I read somewhere that there was this guy who used to roll into office wearing a dhoti in Chennai, wearing a dhoti, on his Bajaj Chetak, he'll roll into the raw office, whatever that is. So, and then he'll say, okay, I'll be back, 2 days I'll be back. And he'll take a boat and go to Sri Lanka and then come back. That was beautiful for me. I'm like, wow. A spy in a dhoti, taking a boat, crossing the sea, going, and he rides a Bajaj Chetak. I mean, it can't get better than that. So that was the genesis for Chellam Sir. And the placement of it, etc., you make an interesting point, right? He comes and gives answers at a crucial juncture, right? That was a huge risk we took. Because it can be construed as so convenient. But then, because of Chellam Sir and how the character that he is, and how he delivers help to Srikanth, it kind of worked out for us, yeah.
Yeah, no. In short, it is a writer's convenience, actually. In Mission Impossible, you would have seen scenes where a problem is there and the next big action sequence has to take, and they're like, okay, we need to do it, and then Simon Pegg character gets on a laptop and go, tick, 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 tick. Okay, you're in, you can go. Nobody ever asked, how the hell did you hack a jumbo jet door in the sky? But you wanted Tom Cruise to hang from it and go in, right? So it's a writer's convenience, or you spend 15 minutes trying to figure out how to get the information so you can get to the action sequence, right? So it's allowed in movies, I guess. And we found this innovative way of, instead of a roundabout way of figuring out the little detail that we want, we found this one iconic now character called Chellam Sir, who gave this info. We already knew that he was a very quirky, oddball character. So we were brave enough to put him at these key points, but I swear none of us knew that he was going to become so famous after the show released. So when the show released, this actor, Uday Mahesh, he hadn't even seen the show. He was somewhere in southern part of Tamil Nadu with no internet. And on Friday, he was just one upcoming, budding, not much known actor. On Sunday, he was super famous all over the country. And he didn't know what hit him. Suddenly, he's seeing all these memes with his face and name, and he's like, he called and said, sir, what is happening? Why am I famous? I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm somewhere. He said, some Tanjavur district somewhere. And I said, have you seen the show? No, my internet is weak. I was planning to go back to Chennai and watch it next week. I said, okay. So you have no idea, but you are really famous all over the country today. It's like.
By the way, fun fact, I was supposed to play Chellam Sir, but DK vetoed it.
Too bad, man. I killed your acting career. I nipped it in the bud.
So yeah, I guess if there are no questions, I'd like to end our conversations. But conversations never end. This is just the starting. And I just want to thank DK and Suman from the bottom of our hearts for honoring us by coming to this corner of the country, the Northeast. We are still young. Our filmmakers are very young but extremely talented. They need a hand to hold on to.
Yeah, and that's precisely the reason.
I'm getting emotional. Yeah, come on. I'm trying to get a little emotional and you ruined it for me. So it makes a world of difference for us when you come, when you share your craft so openly. There are no barriers, so transparent. So thank you both. You have friends in the Northeast. Any corner of the Northeast you want to go to, anything you want, apart from the illegal stuff, I will try my best.
Oh, shit.
To get it for you. So both of you, thank you. A huge round of applause. And towards the end, on Samujjal's request, I will see if you can give us a line about what's the silver bullet of doctors? The silver bullet of doctors.
Oh, no. Okay, he wants me to do a joke, a stand-up comedy joke that I used to do long back, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, let me test you guys, yeah? You know what they say?
They're already bad, yeah, that first joke flopped, nah?
Did it flop? No, let me
like,
did the first joke flop,
Give them
guys?
like dosa kind of jokes which they'll understand, yeah? Don't do the sophisticated one.
See, never interrupt a stand-up comic, especially when he has the mic and he's on the stage or she's on the stage. Yeah, okay. So, I always do this joke in my when I do my shows to test the audience, okay? I will tell you what I'm testing, okay? There are a lot of young people here. It's very important to have your first heartbreak very early in life. Because the older you are, higher the pain and the misery from that first heartbreak. Okay? I had my first heartbreak when I was in my 4th standard. Yeah. I had a massive crush on my moral science teacher. But it didn't work out. He got transferred. You sexist pigs, you. I said teacher and you assumed it has to be a she. Thank you guys. On that note, I really want to, this is my first time in the, technically the first time in Northeast, and really thank you Tanushree and team. I'm really sorry I don't remember names, but Tanushree I remember. And karma, of course, because who can avoid karma? So, thank you so much for having us here. It's been a wonderful experience. I got to meet a lot of people, filmmakers, technicians, artists. So I look forward to coming back here. We look forward to coming back here again. And yeah, that's it, I guess. Drive home safe. Don't drink and drive. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. And like you said, you're young and you need all the support you can get, right? That's precisely the reason why I decided to come to this film festival. I mean, my selfish reasons aside that I've never come to the Northeast. So I wanted to come and see what it is like for myself. But I also thought that, having a festival in this region itself is a brilliant idea, and it's a much, much, much needed, I would say, a resource, a film festival like this. Yeah. So Tanushree, congratulations.